Zap. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another session of Coffee and Martial Arts. Salute, salute, salute. Cheers. Coffee really good this morning. Yes, sir. And thank you for being here again, putting up with me and sharing your thoughts and ideas with this on this show you know uh, with me and everybody here. Okay, so you know me. Today we have, well, I always say it, but I always mean it. I always do. I'm always very excited to be here on the show, to have the guests and collaborators. And I believe that I'm a very blessed man. I'm a very lucky man as well, to be able to bring in all these fine individuals, that have to say and share so much about the martial arts and their own experiences. And they're all unique and amazing in their own ways, right? That's why I always say this, but I do mean it. And I always believe that every show, it's like the ultimate show. And then again, we have a new show and it's even better every time, So thank you guys. And to all the guests and everybody, collaborators, you guys are really, really amazing. I know you bring your best and it shows. So thank you. So that being said, today we have an amazing show. Yes, we do. Okay, we have it's that day of the month. Yes, the Wayward, the number 11. Wow. With Guro Kathrin Sumpter. But before we bring her in, you know me, I have to say the proper announcements. Yes, sir. I want to remind you that we are going live through our Facebook page, Master Frank Soto Kinetic Dragon. So please like the page, follow us. And if you want and you feel, giving today, share some stars with us. That really helps with the algorithm, and it helps with Facebook to show that we are, getting support and all that. Helps with the statistics. So the algorithm will share more of this video, and we can send more of this positive message of the martial arts to everybody. Okay. So thank you so much for all the ones that have shared their stars. Thank you that are here on the show and put the questions and all of that. Thank you to you all. Like I said, I'm very blessed to have you guys here sharing and stuff. Okay, we're also going live through the Internacional with a C Hall of Fame of Argentina Facebook page. Okay, this is a nice website. Facebook page led by Master Juan Martin Alvarez. There's the cover of last month's magazine. They still do this magazine on paper, printed on paper, and of course also digital. They're doing an amazing job for the martial arts, to promote the arts down south, and of course for and to the world. Okay, so if you can support it, share it, and whatever, follow the page. That also helps a lot. Okay, we're also going live through our YouTube channel, the Kinetic Dragon channel. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the little bell so you get notified every time we go live. Okay, thank you so much again for being here. So like I said, today we have a great show, okay? And we already have people saying hello. Yes, cool. But before we bring on the comments, let's bring in our collaborator, Tae Kwon Do expert and Eskrima. Yes, Guro of Eskrima, Kakoy Cañete 12 Pares, all the way from Sequim, Washington. Guro Kathrin Sumpter. Hello, Guro.
Cheers. Good morning, Master Frank.
Salud.
Cheers.
Yes, good morning.
Salud.
Cheers. Oh, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
It's very nice to see you. I'm always very excited with this show when you're here as collaborating, because we get to share and discuss so many different topics. Usually when I have a guest, it's all about the guest, of course. But when I have a collaborator like yourself, we can, go back and forward. And I like that, because I think we can get, explore more about different topics. So,
yeah.
So thank you again. So what do you have for us today, Guro?
Well, I do agree with what you just said, because sometimes in the arts, it can get rather esoteric. So it's nice to be able to talk with somebody about those things. And you have such a wide audience. Oh, by the way, I've had a couple of people tell me that they're so glad that you post on Facebook and YouTube, by the way. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you for that. But I know that the last time I was with you, we got into a great discussion about Tae Kwon Do in the Olympics and some of the industry standards. And so that conversation with you yielded conversations with other practitioners and school owners that I know. And so, wow, maybe we just scraped the surface. But I guess one of the things that I think about is, and you and I have talked about this before, is that martial arts is not yet a regulated industry, at least in this country. It's not, and it's so strange too, because there are art forms in the United States that are regulated. And I remember there was a time too where not only the state of Louisiana, but also the state of Florida, they require licensing and certification for floral arrangers and even interior designers. It's just hard to believe. And we're talking big licensing fees, in the $1,200 to $1,500 range. They also implement the continuing education that you have to get to be a florist, to do flower arranging, and it's a moneymaker, right, for them, for the state. But it's an art. It's very subjective, right? Just like martial arts is subjective. And so we have yet to be tapped by the state or the Fed as something that should be investigated and licensed. And I'm really grateful for that, because I think that we have a lot more flexibility of what we can do and what we can teach.
Yes.
And we can really craft our own curriculum. And so with that said, I think you and I have also had the discussion where, there has to be some continuity too, right? But the idea that a student can go from studio to studio and not have anything different, it's just not like that in the arts. So that's interesting.
I believe, there's one thing about the martial arts that I think it's important. I believe it's not about the art, it's about the teacher and also the individual. I believe when you're looking for a martial arts studio, I believe you should look for a good sensei, a good teacher. I think that's what makes the difference, not the art itself. I think all martial arts are great. That's what I think. I have respect and passion for all the martial arts. Sure, I pick one because, well, that's what goes with me. But still, I like to see, I can enjoy watching a BJJ tournament or competition or training, or a Tae Kwon Do training or session, whether if it's focused on self-defense or competition or whatever, judo, aikido. I enjoy them all because I allow myself to do so. I think they're all great. Like you said, they're all art forms, and they also, a lot of them are sports, right? And still,
right.
It's cool to watch an athlete performing, right, in any sport. So I believe all martial arts are great. I think the most important thing is the instructor. And actually, I had, I'm always saying that I learn a lot from my guests, and I do. And last Tuesday, we had Major Avi Nardia from Israeli martial arts Kopap, and he was saying some very interesting things, some very, very interesting things, right? And he talked about that he doesn't teach sports, or he doesn't like martial arts sport oriented, that he likes to teach more the self-defense part. And that's kind of what I do as well.
That's fair.
But he said something important. He said the problem with, and this is something that I like. He said, well, what I teach, it has to be more wide, panoramic. He said, he used the word, like a panoramic, right? And he says, because if you see Japanese martial arts, he said, I don't take anything away from them. I respect them. And he said he studied in Japan for 8 years. But he said, if you see the Japanese ways, you see judo and they only do throws, right? Or you see karate and they only do strikes. And you see kendo and they only use the sword, right? And he said, I practice all of them, he said. But when I teach, I don't limit myself to one topic. I try to blend and teach them all, right? And
So
then he
he
said,
a mixed martial arts curriculum.
not
Not
mixed.
not not in that traditional sense that we think of MMA, but he does different arts.
Um, well, he does. He calls it kapap. He teaches self-defense, and he said he uses, whatever tool he sees he likes, he puts it in what he
Mhm.
does. But he has his own foundation. But it's more conceptual, I guess, right? But the thing that I was trying to get, he said, the thing that he doesn't like about competition, he said, for example, in judo, right? Judo, it's more like a sports, like taekwondo, okay? It's more like a sport, an Olympic sport. And he said, if you are learning judo, for example, but you're a competitor, you're not even learning the full art. So I remember our conversation and the discussion we had, right? And he said, because if you're a competitor and you're training to compete, that will take you full time. You don't have time to put it into anything else because you need to win, right? So you're going to have to train 4, 5, 6 hours a day, something like that, if you're an athlete, right? Especially if you're at an Olympic level. So he said, and if you're doing that, you're not learning the whole curriculum. You're learning the tricks and the stuff that you need to have to win. So that's, I think, what has happened to Taekwondo in a way, right? That's what we were talking about, right? So, yes, if you see it from that perspective, I agree with you. Okay. But if you see it from the other perspective, which was I was saying the other day, if you see it from the sports this perspective, they don't care about the art, right? So
Yeah,
you have a
right.
sport,
We talked about that. Right.
yeah. So you have a sport and you have an art, right? And I believe that it's up to the individual to make a choice. Are you going to focus on teaching your students the art, or are you going to focus on teaching your students the sport and make them winners? Because I do have students, for example, my guys in Venezuela, my main student, Jose Lara, he creates and coaches athletes. He wants to, make them champions and stuff. Okay, so he's more into the sport, but he also likes the self-defense part. But finding balance there is not easy. It's not easy,
Well, and
right?
I wonder too if that's where associations come in. Although there's no governmental body here in the U.S., they haven't quite they haven't gotten to us yet. I guess I don't know if artists would let it happen, but it's a $1 zillion industry, and they haven't figured it out yet. That I guess that sounds a little bit dark, but um, uh, I guess maybe that's where associations come in, and there's so many of them. There's so, I just think in Taekwondo, the World Taekwondo Federation, the American Taekwondo Association, there's a lot of these federations. And I think there's value in it. I really do. I mean, I'm an independent school, and I don't know how it works in Kempo, but the industry standard, there's that phrase again that when you become a third degree black belt, you become a franchise unto yourself. In other words, when you can't promote to the same rank as you have to promote 2 above. So in other words, if you're a third degree black belt, you can promote a student to black belt, but not
Right.
beyond. So if they pursue their second degree black belt, now you need a panel. And when I learned of this industry standard so many years ago, I mean, I really decided that I didn't want permission from anybody to promote one of my students to black belt. I felt like I knew what I was looking at,
Right.
and that I didn't want that. And so I worked really hard to secure that third degree rank. And but like I said, I mean, it's an industry standard. I guess it's not a hard and fast rule for anyone, right? I have students too that are so skilled, but they don't want to go through the process of earning their black belt. I have this one guy. I beg him, please, just learn some forms. You're so good, and he just doesn't want to do it. He doesn't have the time, but he loves to teach. And I told him, I said, hey, I wouldn't take lessons with you. You know, if you don't jump through those hoops, I wouldn't take lessons. Sorry, you know. So maybe I'm as guilty as the rest of them, but yeah, and like I said, maybe, and I now in Kempo there's associations too. You have a couple of associations that you're affiliated with, am I right? No, so you're independent.
I don't like associations. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry, guys. I just
mhm,
I have a network, my own network, and I call it
okay.
network because I believe in networking. Yes, I do. That's why I do this. I believe in networking, but I don't believe in associate myself and put myself under somebody and have them do the decisions for me. Oh no,
I I
I
hear you.
can't do that. That's why I don't believe in regulation. And that's why I don't have a problem with regulation either, right? I mean, for example, if you have to in sports, I understand that you need associations because you need to compete. You know, you need to compete locally, then statewide, then national
Yes.
wide, then international, then worldwide, right? And
So
you need
if
to
you're
have
like on a
that.
circuit,
Yeah, because you need to have
yes,
ranking and
yes,
you need to have order, and then you need an association. Then I see the point and I see the value. I think it's good because you need to have some type of order. But if you're an artist, I mean, you're an artist. It doesn't get more selfish than that in a way, you know? You're looking for your unique expression of the art.
yes,
So
yeah,
if you have somebody saying you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that,
yeah,
I'm like, yeah. See,
yeah.
that's the martial part of the art. Because if you're just martial, that means you're military, then you need to have order. Then you need to be under somebody else and it's becoming a surface and you follow orders because that's the martial way. But see, thank God it's an art, right? It's a martial art. So that
Yes.
allows us to do whatever we want. But that's why I said you need to look for the individual because I believe in ethics and morals. I mean, I believe that if you're going to lead people, if you're going to teach them the way, right? Then the way has to be within the norm, the ethics, and the morals, and the respect, and the humility, or whatever, you know, the being nice, the being respectful, empathy, all of that has to be there. Otherwise, then you're creating thugs, right?
Oh,
Because
fair
you're
enough. Fair enough.
and when we don't, then you're not helping community. Okay, let me bring some of the comments because we have people saying hello. Okay. Scorch 1028. Hello, Master Frank. It has been raining constantly here in Miami, Florida. Nice, nice. We need rain here. Send some here to Sonora, please. Thank you. Cool. Okay. William Hernandez, saludos and much blessings. Saludos, gracias. Danny Arnold, buenos días, mi hermano. Good morning, sir. Thank you. Buenos días. William Hernandez, manda saludos, gracias. Sensei Axel Cárdenas les ama. Big hug, Guro Kathrin from Chile. Ok. Ernesto Colbernes, saludos, maestros. Salud from Casa de la Cultura China, Santa Fe, Argentina. Hug from the heart. Gracias. Saludos, Sifu. Danny Arnold says, I can offer this much. Even if you're a peaceful, non-confrontational person, you still need to learn to fight, not just the sport aspect. If you can't fight, you're not a pacifist, you're a victim. Well, a pacifist you can be without knowing how to fight. But then you're a pacifist, not a peacemaker. I believe in the word peacemaker, not pacifist. That would be, but I agree with Mr. Arnold. I mean, there's some people that, you know, they believe in peace and they don't believe in violence. They don't want to learn all of that. And yes, the problem is they can be victims, right? So yes, I agree. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Cool stuff. John Ward, maestro. Well said, Frank's reading from Arling. Catherine, thank you. Mr. Begelis Drossos, hello, Mr. Frank. Hello, sir, all the way to Greece. Thank you. Scorched 1028 says, I like watching Taekwondo and Karate students compete against each other. However, some organizations do not allow this. They separate Taekwondo from Karate. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about that before. I'm not sure what organizations, but I know that there are schools that don't engage in what we do with the sparring. You know, they don't engage in that because it is unrealistic.
Well,
At least for Taekwondo schools, you know.
He's asking, they separate Taekwondo from Karate. So he says he likes watching Taekwondo and Karate students compete against each other. I guess it has to do with the rules, right?
Yeah, for sure. Now, I will say that I have a couple of organizations. Of course, I'm a sanctioned school of the CCDP, the Kakoi Kinyeri Dosei Pares worldwide, and I really worked hard for that sanctioning by the world headquarters in Cebu, Philippines. That was really important to me, to be a sanctioned school. And I do follow their curriculum, and it's a good curriculum. I also have a lot of flexibility within that curriculum, but it's nice to have it, you know. And then I do a lot of continuing education with my stick fighting, so that's helpful. So I'm always really discovering new ways to teach the basics, you know, to black belt, and so that's helpful. And so I like being a part of that. I know, me too. And then I'm a member also of the Dekimasu Alliance, and this is just a different kind of organization. I joined up with the Dekimasu Alliance in 2008 when it was just a fledgling organization run by Ponchi Clay Worley, and it is more of a support system than anything else. You know, we have our monthly meetings, we talk over, you know, just anything, running a school, you know, sort of what you and I do, you know, what different people are doing. And it's not restricted to any one art. In fact, all arts are welcome. So I get to have this support system with these really talented lifetime practitioners from Ireland and Uruguay, and of course in the United States as well. And so I like that. You know, I'm pretty isolated out here on the Olympic Peninsula. And so I don't have, I'm far away from my instructors. So I get to connect with some of these people who are just the best in the world. They're so talented. And I get to work with these people. So I'm glad that I have that association. But it's really a support system. Nobody tells me what to do, because then it wouldn't work.
But see, then that's, for me, that will be networking, which is good. I think it's
right.
good.
Right. Yeah, it's a great organization. I love it.
So, like I said, I do have a little bit of an issue with an association, but that's a personal issue. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I believe in having a lineage. You need to have a teacher or several of them. You need to have instructors.
Right.
And you need to look for good instructors. That's why I mentioned at the beginning, what makes the difference is the individual, the sensei, the instructor, the teacher. You want to learn from a guy that knows his craft and knows his art, or her, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a male or female, it doesn't matter. They're both good. I mean, you just need to find one, okay? And once you have that, then it's all good. But also, because we've been asked this stuff, right? How do you know if you're getting like good quality instruction? How do you know they're good? Well, you pay attention, right? You need to make your own judgment.
I've had students come in and vet me, and you know, I'll offer them, you know, a free private lesson, or, you know, just something where they can do that, because I suspect it will be rather a long-term commitment. And so you really want to find a good fit. And I might not be that fit, you know. So yeah, I appreciate it when I'm vetted. And I've had parents come in and vet me. I've had students, you know, adults come in and vet me before. And you had said something about the you need a guy who's going to be a good instructor, and then you also said, but the women too. And I know that sometimes people may choose me because I'm a woman, and some people may not choose me because I'm a woman. It doesn't really matter. I understand. It has to be a good fit.
Of course. And going back to that question of taekwondo, fighting, karate students compete against each other, I think it's good. I mean, you can compete with other people, but it has to do with rules. And also, I see the point from associations or schools that don't allow this, because if you're a taekwondo competitor and you want to go into their, the Olympics or whatever circuit that association has, there's no point in competing guys that are not a part of it, right?
And I must have misunderstood his comment. So he was talking about taekwondo
against karate.
I misunderstood his comment. I'm sorry. So he was talking about these different arts competing against one another. Yes. I see. Got it. Okay.
He says they separate taekwondo from karate. Yes, well, they are separate. It's not that they separate. They are separate. Taekwondo is one art, it's a Korean art. Karate is another art form from Japan. Can they compete if they find, mutual ground on rules? They can compete each other, sure. But that's why karate is trying to go into the Olympics as karate, and taekwondo is already there, right? So they're different arts. So competing against each other, can you benefit from it? Sure. But would it make a difference as a competitor in that circuit with that? I don't think so, right?
Right.
So
so many of the competitions that I've been to are open championships, so all arts are welcome, and they have great turnouts. They're not doing it for fun, right? So, well, maybe some of these guys are. I mean, they've been doing it for 40 years, right? They've been hosting these annual tournaments, not so much with the pandemic restrictions over the last several years, but yeah, the competitions that I've gone to, you'll see all sorts of different arts, the karate and the taekwondo competing in fighting, or even in forms, and that's really a thing when you see some of the different arts competing in forms. So that's interesting to watch, and hopefully, they usually have a terrific panel. I don't know, and I think, I'm falling over myself to get this point out, but you had sort of said it too. At some point, you reach a position in your career where you know what you're looking at. You might not know that specific art, but if a technique is executed well. And so you're in a position to judge at a tournament. You really are. I don't think that you need to be a taekwondo practitioner to necessarily judge a particular form in an open competition, because if a technique looks correct.
Sure. So,
sure. Yeah. And you can also gauge a good point in a sparring competition, right? I mean, I think I at your talk yesterday, and I regret that I didn't get to listen to your whole talk, but there was something about you're sorry, Frank.
No,
I'm doing my best here. You had said something about we were talking that you were talking about competitions. I had commented something about how in my school when I have my students sparring, that whether it's the stick fighting or the taekwondo, they really need to execute clean points.
Right, I remember
that. It can't be some big random haymaker that happens to connect. I need to see clean points. And so I think we know what we're looking at. So.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. I have some other people saying hello. Bagelis Drosso says, hello, Kathrin from Athens, Greece.
Yes, I've been following him on his Facebook page. Very interesting page.
Nice. Rafael Herrera, big salute from Spain. Great maestros, Andalucía. Salud to Andalucía and Spain. Saludos, maestros. Gracias. Says, good company, Maestro Soto. God bless. Gracias. Scorch 1028 says, I also like watching tournaments that feature exotic styles like capoeira and pencaxilat competing against taekwondo and karate. Yeah, well, that's open tournament, yes, like Guro just mentioned it. Yeah, I think it's cool. I guess he liked the old MMA, UFC format before it was MMA. I guess you enjoyed that a lot, huh?
No, I haven't seen anyone compete in capoeira. That would be, I love watching that. That's amazing.
There is one guy that goes into the cage who's a capoeira guy, who at least he did several years ago, and he did good. There's a big
sneaky.
He did one hell of a knockout with that spinning kick that they do. He did it twice and then kicked the guy in the face and dropped him badly.
Gee.
Yeah. So see that? Yeah, he's one of the very, very few guys. I guess he's the only guy who does that, but still, it was cool to watch. Yeah.
It's very sneaky.
Yep. So I guess I think competition has, it's like everything, right? You have whatever gives you, it takes you something away from you, right? You have the yin yang. So it gives you something, but it takes something away from you. So that's what happened to Taekwondo in a way, or judo, or karate. I mean, you're seeing it right now with all this effort with karate being a part of the Olympics and all of that. But there's one good side of sports. That one of the good sides, for example, you're watching it right now in karate. Once it becomes a sport and it goes into the Olympics or it goes into a worldwide type of scenario and all stuff, then you have money or companies investing money in that sport, right?
Oh, right. You have the sponsorships, sure, right.
So you have a lot of money going in, and that means the athlete or the martial artist who becomes an athlete can develop himself or herself to a higher level because they're getting paid or they have money, they're getting sponsored, right? So once you're getting sponsored, you have like a monthly fee or payment or whatever to pay for your food and your lodging or whatever, right? So you're taken care of. You can devote yourself to that sport. So from that particular era, you see, for example, right now, you see the karatekas, you see their katas now. And the level of performance of the athletes when they do kata in the Olympics, when they did it was amazing.
It's like gymnastics almost.
It was, yes, because they take it to that level, because now they can train 4, 5, 6, up to 8 hours a day. They can, they have sports coaches, they have their martial arts coach, they have, psychologists and all of that, therapists and all of the things that money can pay now, right? Because you have investors and you have sponsors and you have a big team now. It's not that you're just learning martial arts on your own. You have a team supporting you. So it's a team effort. And of course, your level of performance, it's going to go to the roof. Mm-hmm. That's one of the good things that we need to understand and see. That's why there's always a good side and there's always a bad side, of course.
Yes, of course.
So from that perspective is what you see in MMA now. Mm-hmm. MMA athletes are so strong and so well trained. They're the true athletes because they're making money. There are
so
sponsors.
do you see with highly sponsored sports like that, how long will it be before state agencies and federal agencies want to get a piece of that pie, and maybe they do now? Corporations and government are almost one entity now. I guess the reason why I say that is because I'm in a position where I get to do really cool things. For years I ran a cancer program, for cancer fighters and survivors, and I ended up hosting classes for people with all kinds of health circumstances. And I often pictured an entity coming to my door and saying, "You can't teach people who are ill. What are your qualifications?" You know, people with Down syndrome. I had many people Down syndrome and autism, and people with real compromised situations, health situations. And I was able to have so much flexibility with these students that I was able to really tailor a curriculum to their needs. And they did great. They flourished. I was able to experiment. I was able to find out what works and, you know, obviously what doesn't work. And I learned so much. But I was grateful, because I often thought at some point somebody's going to say, "You can't do that. What do you think you're doing? You can't teach,
well,
you know, people with Down syndrome. What kind of certification do you have?" You know, and now I'm bound by these entities. So I'm really grateful that it hasn't reached that point yet.
well, see, this depends on your success, number-wise.
Yes.
Well, if you become a threat to their industry, they will shut you down.
Well, not yet. I've been off the radar, maybe.
No. Like, let's say, how many students you have there? I don't know. I'm just going to
okay.
guess.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Let's say you have 10 students or 20 students or even 100 students. If it goes into the thousands, or you start going beyond your city into other cities, statewide or national-wide, then you become a threat. Then they will definitely put you down.
Mm-hmm.
Business-wise.
That's fair. I didn't really think about it that way. I know that. I think about even the children that I have in the school. You know, I'm putting weapons in their hands, and I often think, you know, I've got this controlled environment, and I keep everybody safe. But yeah, at what point will somebody say, "You can't put weapons into kids' hands? What are you doing?" You know.
Well, it depends
hasn't happened
on
yet.
the weapon, right? I mean, are you?
How many people are watching you? There's a lot. You've got a lot of viewers, so maybe they'll find me out.
No. It depends on the weapon. I mean, you're giving what? Sticks and knives, right?
Yes.
Okay, so any kid can grab a knife from their kitchen.
That's fair. Yeah.
So it's still a tool that they don't need to go and train with you to.
Right? Yeah, I'm not teaching them firearms.
There you go. If you're teaching firearms, then you can see the issue with the firearms right now.
Yes, of course.
So it's as long as we keep it as an art form, okay? Because see, when I teach the police, for example, here,
yes,
we do get regulated. As police instructors, we are regulated by the government.
Yes.
Not as a martial art teacher. As martial arts, it's art. They don't care. But once you start teaching police tactics and the use of force and all of that, you need to get certified. You need to pass the confidence control test. You need to have no, background or whatever.
I was just going to ask you that. I'm sure they ran background checks on you.
Yeah, they do.
Did they do did they do any kind of mental health evaluation on you? Did they do, in addition to all the, yeah, I bet they did. Yeah.
Yes, it's called confidence control de confianza. Yes. So, yes, they do. Of course, you have to spend there 2 days, basically. You get there at 6 o'clock in the morning. They let you out around 3 or 4. The first day and the second day, same thing. And you have to be there. They're doing running evaluations. They even pulled the lion detector and all of that stuff.
Oh, is that right?
Polygraph, yes, all of that. Yeah, you have to, like a police officer. Yes.
That's fair. Yeah.
And you get a number from what is it? Safety, the national security, whatever department, all of that stuff. You get everything, the whole thing. I have it. I have the whole thing, so they can check me out, and they check everything.
Yeah, I
Otherwise,
bet.
I cannot teach. I cannot certify anybody there. So yes, you have to do all of that. So it's not
Yes.
that simple because, well, you're working with regulated, uh, people, and I also teach firearms there, but just to the police, not to the civilians, and not at all. Here you can't, right?
So at your school, you don't teach. So you can't have a private gun class in
No,
Hermosillo.
you can get in trouble for that. Yes, here you
I
can't.
see. I don't know what the
No,
rules are here. I have no idea.
I mean you could if nobody finds out, but
No, you don't want that.
if you get big enough, the military will come.
Okay.
Yeah, they will come and say, hey, what the hell? Because they're messing into their territory, and so
Yeah.
you will be in trouble. And
Yes.
so
Well, you don't want that. I mean, you don't want to
no, that's
be
why
sneaky.
you put in a key and you teach martial arts, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
And they leave you alone. If it's martial arts, because martial arts is also for kids and it helps the community, and there's a positive side, so they leave you alone, right? Because you're helping. You're not a part of the problem. You're a part of the solution, right?
Right.
And you don't. It's not no big deal. But if I start, I don't know. I can even teach some of the tactics here, right? Self-defense tactics to police officers and stuff, no problem. But
Right.
if I want to certify them and do it within the system, I have to be a part of the system. I have to get certified. I have to go through all the tests, and otherwise, I can't.
I wonder. I bet you were able to glean a lot from your experiences training in law enforcement. I'm sure that you were able to learn a lot of things that you could apply to your school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I bet.
It changed the way I perceive the martial arts for sure, in a big way. Because
How so?
well, you have to be way more practical, and there's no
I
space
think
for
one
art.
time you talked to me about de-escalation. Is that where that came from?
Yeah, the escalation comes from the use of force. Yes, of course.
Yes, I think that. Yes. I'm sorry. You were saying.
I don't know, what was I saying. It's okay.
Well, we were talking about how perhaps much of the training that you did, you were able to use some of those techniques or some of the skill set that you learned there into your own training at your own school.
The biggest thing is you need to teach them fast. You don't have time. So if they go to a class with you, let's say they come in today and they take a 2 hours class, they might have to use that later on the day.
Sure.
That same day.
Yes.
If they're active police officers, whatever you teach them, it needs to work right away.
Wow.
So you got to be very creative.
Well, yes, I would say so.
So like I said, you don't have the time to build a martial artist. You need to teach them stuff that they can use when they're leaving class. They're going outside, they see a problem, they're police officers, they have to jump into the problem, and they have to be able to use whatever you taught them.
Yes.
To enhance their security, to enhance the security of the civilian, to control whatever it is that they have to do. It has to apply right away.
No pressure, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
And you need to, for example, you have a cadet and you need to teach them how to use the force. It sounds like Jedi stuff, but you need to teach them how to use force in 60 hours or 80 hours of training. To be ready to control and arrest someone who is aggressive, and you need to teach them that in a course of 60 hours. So it's measured in hours, not months, not years, but hours.
Don't you find too that when you it's the thing that takes so long, in my estimation, is the mindset. And I know that there are times when I do self-defense clinics. I'll do, women's clinics or mother-daughter clinics or college-bound student clinics. And so many of these people have not 1 minute of self-defense training in their lives. And when I do these clinics, I don't like it to go over 2 hours, because then, your eyes glaze over, and you want your student to leave with usable, practical information in their back pocket that they'll have for the rest of their lives. Like you said, you don't have time to build that mindset. So what can you do now? And that's so important. I find that to be so important.
Well, it's actually way more mental than physical.
Right.
Because to develop a physical ability will take you way more than 2 hours.
I think it was your dear friend, as I remember, Mr. Scott Higgins. I haven't forgotten this, and he's in Hawaii, am I right?
Yes.
I remember he was on your show one time, and he said something, I just haven't forgotten it. He was talking about when an incident arises. He said if you can train your eye to see that it's been coming for a long time, that there were so many signs, that the problem didn't just appear. There were many, many signs, and I haven't forgotten that. The way he phrased it, of course, I'm butchering it. He said it much better than I do. But I thought that concept was really true. You do see there are many signs. You just have to maybe have the eye for it. And I think that takes time, I really do. I think that takes time and training. It takes time on the mat.
It's funny because when you're teaching the police, it's the same when you're trying to make somebody win a tournament, meaning it's similar, not the same, it's similar. When you have a competitor who wants to become a champion, they live the art out and they focus on what they need to win. They learn the tricks, the stuff, the nitty gritty, the stuff they need to win, just that stuff, right? Maybe it's a move, maybe it's 2 moves. It's the same with police officers. When you're teaching them how to survive an encounter or how to control someone, you're not going to teach them 20 different moves. You're going to probably teach them 1 move, right?
Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
And teach them how to apply that move in different scenarios, and a move that's going to make a difference. But it has to be with an understanding, not just emotion. So they need to understand, not know, understand what they're doing and how can they apply it, and then teach them that manipulation or that just subtle move or some special move, like Mr. Parker would call it, the late senior grandmaster at Parker of Kempo would say, the master key movement. It's like a master key movement and a master key concept, right?
That's so cool. I mean, this is the esoteric kind of stuff I was talking about earlier at the opening of your show. Yes. Not so you said not just to know the technique, but to understand it. That's beautiful. Yeah.
So in a way, when you teach self-defense, see, when you're really teaching self-defense, you're not teaching an art form. You don't teach the art.
Yeah, you don't have time.
No.
Yeah.
Now, when you're developing a martial artist in the way, now what is the way, right? The way is to take you from A to C, right? But the way is the process from B to Y, right? And that in between A to C, that process, that's what you want the student. You want to prolong the process, right? Because it's not going to see what you want in a martial artist. It's what the benefits they gain from training. So they become better person, they get empowered, they get, respectful, because now they understand violence and they know how fragile the human body is, how easy you can die or kill someone. So you're avoiding violence now because you understand it, right? And then you can become a peacemaker or a pacifist, right? But not because you have to, but because you believe in it, right? So is martial arts for me is not just about learning self-defense. It's the process, the way. It's all the things you gain, right? The way of the warrior, defending your loved ones, protecting yourself, being peaceful, being calm, learning how to control yourself, developing character, all of those things. But when you're teaching self-defense, or you're teaching the use of force to police officers, you don't have time to do that, and that's not your job.
Right, fair enough.
They have other class. They have ethics and other lectures. They have other lectures. That's not your job. Is to teach them how to use the force within the parameters of the law, and it's different within every country, right? It's similar, but it's different. It's not the same. So you need to know the laws and norm, the regulations of your country, right? So you teach them that the institutional way. And now, when the police officer takes it to the street, they need to make a decision. Do I follow the regulation and the norm and do it at its fullest, or do I follow the way of the street? And then they need to work in between the grays. Policing and the use of force is not black and white. It's all shades of gray. It's not black. They can't do it black and white. That's what people don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because life
there's
is
too many variables. Too many variables.
Yeah, especially for a police officer. It's the worst variables. They have because they don't know what they're going to encounter. When you're in the military, when you're a soldier, you know who the enemy is, and you need to eliminate
them. Yeah.
When you're a police officer, you don't know who the enemy is. You are serving that civilian, right? Because you're there to protect and to serve. And then you don't know if he's going to become a criminal or is going to attack you. You don't know nothing. So that's why they're so defensive.
In this country too, also with body cams and everyone has a cell phone. You better understand the Constitution too. So there's that extra added element of respecting people's constitutional rights.
So, for example, if you tell me I'm a martial, I don't believe in competition. I believe only in self-defense. Okay, so you don't believe in the way either.
Because it's all encompassing.
Well, see, then it's not just self-defense. So self-defense is an excuse. Actually, for me, it's an excuse, because what I want is for you to become a better person. Not to learn how to.
Do you find that these techniques and these moves that we do that have been honed over the centuries, do you find that they also intrinsically teach the way? And I guess the reason why I asked that is because there was a time where I wanted to just try and pursue everything, which nothing gets done, but I'm just too excited. And so I decided, well, I really want to get a handle on Tai Chi and learn the forms, and then I can teach that too. And so I thought, well, where do I start? I didn't want to go to a class. I didn't have time. So I thought, well, I'll order a couple of videos that will teach me Tai Chi. Well, there's a zillion of them out there, and I didn't know what to pick. So I found a DVD, and it was filmed at the Harvard University Arboretum by this master, and beautiful, slick DVD. And then I found a little VHS that was taught by this Chinese woman. I could barely understand her. So first, of course, I put in the one from Harvard University, and this instructor, obviously a seasoned Tai Chi practitioner, obviously knew what he was doing. But right out of the gate, he started getting into some of the philosophies, and I didn't want that. I wanted the moves, and when I tuned into the VHS with this Chinese woman, I could barely understand her, but she was saying things like, "Put your hand here at a 45-degree angle." That's what I needed, because I thought the moves will get me to the place where this other guy was going. He wanted to go into these deep philosophies and just teach me the moves, and I'll find that way on my own. But I'd also been doing martial arts at the time for 20 years, so I sort of knew how to navigate. But I do believe that. I think that these moves have that intrinsic value just by virtue of how your body moves and how you do these things. I think it's just sweet. Some of these moves are so great. I just love them.
Let me bring some of the comments. We have some comments here. Let's say, Oscar Sansaran, saludos, Frank from Spain. Saludos, gracias. Saludos, Oscar. Maestro Johnny Restovic Carmona, saludos, Kempo Restovic, Chile. Saludos, maestro, grande, gracias. Danny Arnold says, to go along with Guro Kathrin's point, I've had friends before who would be way too unobservant of their surroundings, that they will put themselves in potentially bad situations. We all have to, we all have to watch out for the cues and the indicators of dangers when we are out there in the world. Thank you, sir.
Is Mr. Arnold, he's also from Washington State, isn't he?
I'm not
Tacoma?
sure. Are you
Do
sure?
I have that right? I don't know. I don't remember. I'm going by memory. I don't know how wise that is.
I don't remember it. I'm sorry. But he can tell us. Yeah, I was going to say, I forgot what I was going to say. What we were talking about?
Well, we were talking about how the moves themselves might hold this intrinsic value of setting you on this path, this course.
Okay. Yes, they do, but it has to do, we need to understand, that's why we need to understand history and the context when that particular art was created, to understand the why and the what for. Why did they create that art form and for what reason?
Do you need that information right away? Or can you just start and perhaps that information will enhance your training later on?
Oh, you don't need it right away, but if you're an instructor, you definitely need it.
Yes.
Okay, Danny Arnold says, I am in Burien, about 12 minutes south of Seattle. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. No, you don't need to learn it right away. I mean, you're not gonna want to know that when you're a beginner. You're just like, well, who cares? I just want to know the moves.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you're an instructor, I mean, for me now it's truly important because it helps me understand why am I learning this? What for? For me, but I'm an instructor. I'm a teacher. But for a student, nah. The beginner, say, nah. I just show me the moves, right? But then
one of the things that I started doing when I would sign people up for some of the stick fighting program is Kitty Kignetti, before her death, she sent me this brief summary of her father's art and how he came about to create Tae Kignetti Dose Pars Eskrima. And it's very, very interesting. I really should send it to you. But I learned so much from this brief summary. And so that's something that I like to give my students. So when they're ready, they can read it and who knows what they'll glean. But it sure is helpful to have some of the art under your belt before you start reading about how it was formed and who the players were. And yeah, you're right. I mean, at the beginning, no, I don't know how much value it would have.
Yeah, but once you go deeper into the art, you will want to know that, right? You're gonna
absolutely.
And
yeah.
For me, knowing the history of the art that I do and teach is not only giving me more understanding, it also gave me more confidence of the art that I'm doing and teaching.
Yes.
That's for me. Because then I mean, in Kempo, you get all of this remarks that Kempo hasn't been tested in combat. For example, American Kempo was created in the 60s and we never tested on the ring against another blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's what some people believe and think. But once you know the history of Kempo, you're like, it hasn't been tested? It has been tested for centuries. it wasn't blah, blah, blah. It's like, what? So that's why it's important to know your history, because then you see it's not just tested, it was developed in battle, for battle. So, and it's been done for thousands of years, but people don't know this. They just like,
I can't help but think of all the historians you have on your program. You've had some guests that, my gosh, they are just encyclopedias. I mean, it just makes me feel like I need to hit the books a little bit more. What I know about some of my art, in some ways couldn't fill a thimble compared to some of these guys that, yeah, you have some amazing contributors that are true historians of the martial arts, and I just love listening to them. They know all the stories.
Yeah. It's yeah. There's so much, there's so much knowledge out there from so many different individuals. It's so cool to have them here and teach, right? It's so amazing. So yes, I guess it's never enough study, it's never enough.
Right. That's why it's a path, right? Not a destination.
Exactly. And that makes it so cool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Dan Arnold says, one day after I get moved, I'll strive to make it over to Sequim to see you and your school.
That would be so cool, Danny. Thank you. I'd love that.
Alberto Contreras, greetings, masters. Thanks for giving us a better understanding about why learned martial arts are good for us.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maestro Nassim Holmes. Greetings, Mr. Soto and Instructor Sumpter. Wishing you both well from Cape Town, South Africa.
Wow. Gee.
Hello, my friend.
People all over the world watching you, Frank. Wow.
Well, I'm always amazed on how this work, and they can put on their comments, and they're nice enough to watch and comment on everything. So yeah, I'm very grateful. Like I said, I'm very blessed. Yes, we all are. Cool. So yes, I think there's a lot to learn. There's a lot. That's why we have so many things to discuss and to share and to talk about, because there's so much stuff out there, and I'm going to quote what Mr. Tatum, my Kempo instructor, usually says. Martial arts. Well, he says Kempo, but martial arts, it's like life, right? There's so much stuff out there, it's similar to the way life works. And one of the things is the system says balance itself, right? So I think life does that, it feeds itself and it balances itself. So there's so much things to talk about, to explore, to investigate, to share, and to learn. So much stuff to learn and to study, and to experiment. That's why I'm always fascinated with the martial arts and with what people have to say. Daniano says, muy popular, very popular. Thank you, sir. Yes, you guys are the popular ones. I'm just here to share all of you guys here. Well, anything you want to add, Guro?
I guess the only thing, and you and I have talked about this before, that I think when it comes to art form, I think that if you do have parameters in an art form, it's going to get better. I think art without guidelines.
Yes.
I don't think the cream rises that way. So I think if you do have, I think that if you do have parameters, it yields amazing results.
I agree. And that's why it's important to have an art form and a lineage and a teacher, right?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Yes. Maestro Merv Orman says hi from Merv Orman Infinity Kempo Concepts, UK. Salute your endeavors.
Wow, yeah.
Bringing people together. Thank you, Maestro. Thank you, sir. And hello to everybody there in the UK. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. So, yes. Well, thank you so much for today. With the hour is done.
Oh, thank you. Is time up?
Yeah.
Oh, time is up. My goodness.
An hour and 5 minutes already.
Che. Well, thank you, Master Frank.
No, no. Thank you, Guro Kathrin. You're amazing. So thank you, everybody, for watching this today. Tomorrow, we're going to go in Café y Artes Marciales en Español with Grandmaster Sergio Contreras, all the way from Santiago de Chile. He's going to be here. And Saturday, we have our open mat talks, also in Español, with Sensei Rodrigo Salas. We're going to talk a little bit more. And next week, we're going to have amazing, amazing guests. Let me mention them fast. Okay, let's see. I need to open my agenda. Sorry. Okay, so next week we have, come on, Maestra Karina Salvo on Tuesday. Maestra Karina Salvo from Argentina. On Wednesday we have Maestro Marcio Atalaya dos Santos from Brazil, and on Thursday we have Maestro Alfred Magnum all the way from Florida. Yes, sir. So it's going to be cool next week. Don't miss it. And on Friday we have Sensei Polo Atzmar from here. Actually, he's one of the local guys. He's a karate guy who's going to be here sharing and stuff. So it's going to be cool. Don't miss it. So thank you again, Guro. This was amazing, as usual.
Thank you, Master Frank. Thank you.
See you next month.
Thank you, sir.
Salud. Thanks, everybody, for commenting. Mr. Arnold, you're the man. And to everybody else, Mr. Orman, Mr. Holmes, Alberto Contreras, who else was there today? Kempo, Johnny Restovic, Oscar Sansarrans, Scorch 1028, Rafael Herrera, Bagelis Drosus, Maestro John Ward, Sifu Ernesto Colbener, Sensei Axel Cárdenas, William Hernandez, all of you, thank you so much. Take care and have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.